There's a specific kind of person who walks into a room and knows, within seconds, who's lying, who's hurting, and who's about to cause a problem. They can't explain how. They just know. And the unsettling truth is, this ability didn't come from a gift. It came from a wound. What I'm about to describe is something psychologists have only recently started naming properly. It's called traumatic intelligence, and it's considered one of the rarest cognitive profiles a human being can develop. Not because it's impossible to acquire, but because of what it costs to build. Most people who have it don't even realize they're operating on a completely different frequency from everyone around them. They assume everyone notices the things they notice. They don't. And here's the part that gets interesting. By the end of this, you'll understand two things most people never figure out. Why you've always felt slightly out of step with the world, and why the very thing that isolates you is also what makes you extraordinary. Hold on to both of those questions. Let's start with the first sign, and it's the one that usually surprises people the most. You have an uncanny ability to predict outcomes before they happen. Not in some supernatural way, it's more subtle. You'll meet someone at a dinner party, and within 20 minutes you've already mapped out how they'll behave under stress, who they'll disappoint, and what their blind spots are. 3 months later, you watch it play out almost exactly as you sensed. This isn't magic. It's what researchers call hypervigilant pattern mapping. When a child grows up in an environment where adult behavior is inconsistent or volatile, the brain develops an early forecasting system. It starts running predictive models on people, the way meteorologists run models on weather. Most adults never develop this because they never had to. The second sign shows up in how you handle information. You remember things other people forget. The exact phrasing someone used in an argument 2 years ago. The look on a friend's face when they opened a particular gift. The tone of a voicemail from 2019. Your memory isn't photographic. It's emotional. It archives feeling with almost ruthless precision. This happens because your developing brain learned that emotional details carried survival value. If you could remember exactly how someone sounded before they became unpredictable, you could recognize the warning signs earlier next time. That archive never shut down. It's still running. Take a breath here because the next one matters. The third sign is that you understand people who are nothing like you. A 68-year-old widow, a teenage boy in foster care, a stressed-out surgeon, a single mother working nights. You don't just sympathize with them. You actually comprehend their internal logic. You can trace the shape of their thinking even when your life has nothing in common with theirs. Psychologists sometimes call this extended theory of mind, and it's significantly more developed in people who had to become emotional translators early in life. When your childhood requires you to decode adults whose moods made no sense, you end up with a translator's mind. You become fluent in human. The fourth sign is harder to talk about. You have an almost allergic reaction to fake people. Not dislike, not preference. An actual physiological response. Your body tenses. Something in your chest goes still. You can sit through an entire conversation with someone who is performing warmth, and every cell in you knows. This is because your nervous system was calibrated, very early, to distinguish between real safety and performed safety. A parent who said kind words with cold eyes. A relative who hugged you while being emotionally absent. Your body learned the difference between the signal and the substance, and it never stopped checking. Now here's the fifth sign, and I want you to sit with it. You hold contradictions most people can't. You can love someone and recognize they hurt you. You can forgive without forgetting. You can believe in human goodness while staying prepared for human cruelty. This is called dialectical thinking in psychological literature, and it's considered a marker of advanced cognitive maturity. It usually takes decades of therapy or deep philosophical study to develop. You developed it because life didn't give you the luxury of simple answers. You had to hold two opposing truths at the same time just to survive your own childhood. The sixth sign appears in your relationship with silence. You can sense what's being avoided in a conversation. When someone changes the subject, you feel the exact shape of what they're hiding, even if you never press them on it. You notice the questions people don't ask, the names that don't come up, the memories that get edited out. This is because you grew up in rooms where the most important information was always the information no one would say out loud. You learned to read the negative space. Most people listen to words. You listen to what words are protecting. The seventh sign is that you're unusually good in crises, but strangely destabilized in peace. When a friend's life falls apart, you're the one they call. You become clear, focused, useful. But when your own life is calm, you feel restless, like you're waiting for something. This is your nervous system's oldest wiring. It was trained to function at high alert, so baseline calm registers as unfamiliar. Psychologists refer to this as the stability paradox. The quieter your life becomes, the louder your internal system gets, because it doesn't recognize peace as safety yet. The eighth sign is about how you give advice. People tell you things they've never told anyone. Strangers on planes, coworkers in elevators, friends of friends you've just met. There's something in your presence that signals you won't flinch. You've seen enough of the human condition to not be shocked by it. This quality is called non-reactive containment, and it's rare because most people need to protect themselves from other people's darkness. You learned to sit inside darkness a long time ago. Holding someone else's doesn't scare you. The ninth sign is one most people miss in themselves. You have an instinct for timing. You know when to speak and when to wait, when someone needs a question and when they need silence, when to push and when to pull back. You read the rhythm of a conversation the way a musician reads a song. This happened because, at some point, your safety depended on knowing when the room was ready for your presence and when it wasn't. Now, as an adult, you've turned that survival skill into something almost artistic. And then there's the 10th sign, which reframes everything else. You carry a strange gratitude for what hurt you. Not a simple one, not a naive one, but a complicated recognition that the parts of you that people admire most, the depth, the perception, the steadiness, the empathy, were built in rooms you wouldn't wish on anyone. You don't romanticize your past. You don't pretend the pain was worth it. But you also can't deny that the person sitting in your body right now was forged in fire, and you're not sure who you'd be without it. Here's the part I want you to really hear. There's a quiet assumption in self-help culture that healing means becoming less sensitive, less watchful, less attuned. But traumatic intelligence isn't something you heal away. It's not a malfunction. It's a highly refined instrument that was built under pressure. And the work isn't to dull it. The work is to finally use it for yourself. Most people with this kind of mind spend decades deploying it on behalf of others, reading rooms for other people's comfort, managing other people's moods, anticipating other people's needs. The real shift happens when you turn that instrument inward, when you start reading yourself the way you've always read everyone else, when you become your own most careful observer. That's when the intelligence stops being a burden and starts being a home. You weren't given an easy mind. You were given a precise one. And precision, in a world this loud, is its own kind of quiet power. The people around you may never fully understand how you see what you see, or why you feel what you feel. That's okay. You don't need them to understand it. You just need to stop apologizing for it. Because what was built in you wasn't a flaw. It was a frequency. And now that you can hear it clearly, the only question left is what you're going to let it say.